Hi everyone, I'm Kate Cundiff. I'm the Director of Workforce Solutions for the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council.
I'm Angie Howe, Program Director for Junior Achievement of Central Illinois.
And we are partnering together to put on an event this October called Greater Peoria CareerSpark. I know a lot of you are already familiar with CareerSpark because if you're watching this video, that means that you already registered your students and your students are joining us this October. So I just wanted to start off with a brief overview of the event in case you were just hearing about this for the first time. So Greater Peoria is defined by 5 counties. We're Peoria, Tazewell, Woodford, Mason, and Logan. So we've invited all of the students from those 5 counties, and we've also included some feeder schools into ICC from Marshall and Fulton counties. So our goal for CareerSpark is to help spark an interest in different careers in your students. We're going to have 8 different industry clusters represented at CareerSpark, and each of those 8 industry clusters will focus on the 16 national career pathways that are established by the federal government. All right, so on October 23rd and 24th, we'll have 2 sessions. We'll have a morning session and an afternoon session, and we will communicate with you directly as to which session your school will be part of. So the exciting part about CareerSpark is that it's solely for 8th graders. And the exciting part about only having 8th graders come to this event is 8th graders are at a critical time in their life where they can decide which career pathway they want to go on or they don't want to go on. So we want to expose them to a plethora of careers, all of the careers that exist in our region right here in Greater Peoria, and have our employers who have a really strong hiring demand for certain careers come in and talk with your students directly about all the different careers that they could go into. The exciting part about this expo specifically is no booths are allowed. So we have to have interactive expos, and we've communicated that with all of our industry clusters. So we're going to have interactive hands-on experiences for you and your students to actually work hands-on to see whether or not that career would be a good fit. All right, so one common question I keep getting from 8th grade teachers or principals who have joined us in the past for either our manufacturing expo or our healthcare expo is whether or not CareerSpark is taking the place of those expos. The answer is technically yes. CareerSpark is taking the place of the manufacturing and healthcare expos. However, the great part is the people who led the healthcare expo and the manufacturing expo are turning into the co-chairs for the industry teams that are becoming part of CareerSpark. So technically, for example, the Manufacturing Expo will become 1/8 of the CareerSpark puzzle. So we're going to have 8 different industries represented at the expo, and your students will be able to explore all of those careers. So rather than having 8 different separate expos for you to take your students to, 8 different field trips, we're just going to have one huge event that you can explore all of those careers at. All right, so as you can see, as we mentioned, Angie and I are partnering together. So Junior Achievement and the Greater Peoria EDC are partnering together to put on this great event this fall. And we have a ton of other partners who are working together to make this event really special for you and your students. We have over 100 employers who will be represented at the CareerSpark Expo. And we have probably about 500 to 1,000 volunteers who will be helping to manage the day of the event, managing the flow, the traffic flow, and making sure that everyone understands where you're supposed to be at what time during the day. So we're going to have a lot of volunteers, lots of employers engaging with your students the day of. So it's definitely a community-wide effort.
Prior to your students attending CareerSpark, there are a few things we'd like you to do to maximize the experience for you and your students. One of the things that you will need to do is make sure you've confirmed your date and time with your CareerSpark school representative. Then you will be responsible for securing the transportation to and from the Peoria Civic Center on your designated day and time. If you need assistance with this, just contact Kate or myself, and we'll be able to hopefully get some resources to help you out with the transportation if needed. It is also important that your school secures an adequate number of adult chaperones for the event. We recommend you have 1 adult chaperone per every 10 to 12 students to help ensure that they are maximizing their time at all of the different career cluster activity stations. However, we know you know your students best, and we know that you will make the right decision about how many adult chaperones to bring. That 10 to 12 students per adult is a guideline that we recommend for the event, since there will be a lot of students at this from all different schools. Chaperones will also need to make sure that students have the appropriate permission slips and media waivers on file at school before attending the event. We are relying on schools to use their own internal processes for field trips and permission slips for this. Now, if there are students who don't have a media waiver on file at school, they can still come to CareerSpark. We would still want them to be able to come. But we are asking that teachers come prepared with a list of any students who do not have a media waiver on file at school, and bring that list, and that will be collected at check-in. That way we can make sure that any students who do not have a media waiver on file at school are not photographed or interviewed, because media will be present at CareerSpark. In terms of lunch, that is not being provided at CareerSpark. So your time of the event will be before or after lunch. Lunch will not be provided. So please be sure that you have checked with the school or made arrangements to make sure your students have lunch before or after they come to CareerSpark, depending on the designated time of your visit there. There are a few other things we'd like you to do before you come, because we want to make sure the students are prepared to understand a few things. We want to make sure that they know what a career cluster is, since their time at CareerSpark is divided by different career clusters and industries within those clusters. So we'd like them to know that. We also would like to make sure that they've done some kind of career assessment, so they have thought about what careers they would have and what clusters those would be in, so that can guide their time the day of the event. And we'd also like to make sure they have some experience after CareerSpark to process all that information, to go through what they've learned or what was different than they expected. And we'll be providing some materials to guide you through that, so that the students can come away with some type of personal action plan to use the information they've learned at CareerSpark, to talk about what was different perhaps than they expected, and especially to be able to use this information as they plan their high school courses later in the year. Now, this material that we'll be providing to you will be emailed to all of the teachers at the participating schools through a PDF form. So that will be sent to you soon, so that you have guidelines and talking points for these activities and the content to go over with them before and after CareerSpark. Another component that we'll be providing to you is a student assessment. We'd like to gather some information about this and some feedback, so that we can learn more about the kind of outcomes and how students' attitudes perhaps were changed by this event. So we are also asking you to do a student pre-survey and post-survey after the event. That will also be online, and we'll be providing all of that information to you. The materials we'll be providing to you in a PDF format are from the JA Job Shadow program. It has some easy to use activities for you to do. For example, one of the activities you'll be able to do with your students to help them get familiar with career clusters and what they are is a matching game. So these are interactive things, talking points to guide you and your students to make sure they are adequately prepared before they come to an event like CareerSpark. We also would like you to go over with them how to behave and how to interact appropriately with a business volunteer in a setting like CareerSpark. So those talking points and information will be provided to you through the JA Job Shadow curriculum that we'll be emailing out to participating teachers. That also will include an option for a career assessment. Another career assessment that many teachers use is career cruising. What that is required that students do a career assessment as part of this preparation for CareerSpark. Another great thing about these materials we're sending is that they are all correlated with State of Illinois learning standards in English language arts, math, and the new social science standards. So we think that you'll find these materials to be a great addition to your classroom.
All right, so as we've mentioned before, this event is going to be 2 days overall, but your students will just be coming for 2 hours of the 2-day entire expo. So during the 2 hours that your students are there, the Civic Center is going to be completely transformed. If you've ever been in the Civic Center where they have the auto show, they have 4 exhibit halls opened up for the auto show. And we're going to have 2 out of 4 of those exhibit halls filled with interactive career activities. So it's going to be a really exciting event, and each activity station is going to be very unique to whatever hiring needs are most in demand for that industry. Each industry station will have multiple HR professionals, so the actual people who will be recruiting those 8th graders in the future, hopefully, as well as teachers who might have helped plan that industry cluster. And then it will also have experienced professionals who actually work in the designated career cluster that they're showcasing to the students. So the students will have a chance to interact with a variety of individuals who all know They are the subject matter experts of that industry. So the 8 industries that will be at CareerSpark include advanced manufacturing, engineering, and logistics, which is being run by our old manufacturing expo team. Number 2 is agriculture, food, and natural resources. 3 is architecture, engineering, and construction. 4 is arts, technology, and communication. 5 is business finance. 6 is government law, public safety. 7 is health and life sciences, so our old healthcare expo. And then 8, finally, is hospitality and tourism. By learning about those 8 different industry clusters, the education pathway needed, and the salary, your student is for sure going to get a very well-rounded experience while they're at CareerSpark. And then the final thing is to ensure that your bus is being dropped off at the appropriate area. So if any of you have been to the Civic Center and you're familiar with the marquee lot there, the marquee lot actually is the smaller lot at the Civic Center, but it has a semicircle area for the buses to actually enter through and then exit out onto the other side. So as the buses come in through the marquee lot, your bus will stop in front of the doors at the marquee lot and then in front of the main entrance doors at the marquee lot. And then we will have a designated volunteer from our CareerSpark list of hundreds of volunteers who will come out to your bus and do an on-the-bus check-in. So that person will bring multiple backpacks, which are color-coded based on the school, to your bus and hand out those backpacks to your students. Now, the reason why the color-coded backpacks are so important is because your school will have a very specific color that day. So if your school is yellow, then you will want to make sure that you have all of the yellow backpack students coming with you from zone to zone based on the map that we give each of the schools. So each of those color-coded backpacks will be worn by the students in the actual expo itself. Now, we also have booklets that are being provided by Junior Achievement that show each of the students all of the career clusters that they're interacting with, as well as the education pathway needed for those careers and the salary that will be outlined. So the good news is the students will have a great takeaway that has all of the information that they learn and interact with the day of that they can take back to school and continue learning and staying up to speed on. Now, those booklets will be handed out to each of the teachers or chaperones that bring the students the day of. Those booklets can stay on the bus as long as you're entering into the same bus as you leave. But you can keep those booklets on the bus and take those back to school with you. If for any reason you can't leave the booklets on the bus, then feel free to have the students put those in their backpacks, but they probably shouldn't touch them during the day. They should just look at them back when they're at school. So for the bus schedule, as I mentioned, the buses will be coming into the marquee lot, and there will be a more detailed map that we'll send out through our schools later that you can then share with your bus drivers. But you will enter through the marquee lot, and we're actually going to have we're going to have a variety of buses that day. So we're going to have to coordinate a certain arrival time for each school so we don't have tons of buses all at the same location. So some schools, for example, might arrive at 8:20 in the morning, even though the morning session doesn't start until 9. So there will be an arrival time between 8:20 and 8:50, and there might be some schools arriving at 8:20, some schools arriving at 8:30, and some schools arriving at 8:40, etc. Now, the cluster experiences for the morning will go from 9 to 11 in the morning. The departure will be right at 11. We'll have another buzzer sounding in the Civic Center saying that the day is over and that schools can now depart to their bus. And we'll have a volunteer that actually walks you out through the Civic Center to your bus, because the bus pickup for when you're done with the expo will be different from the marquee lot. It'll actually be on the opposite side of the Civic Center. So we'll have a designated volunteer walking you to everywhere that you need to go. So you don't have to remember that, but just wanted you to know so that you didn't fear the departure and arrival times. For the afternoon session, we have a similar arrival and departure situation going on. So we have arrival for afternoon between 11:10 and 11:40 a.m. And then the cluster experiences for the afternoon session will go from 11:40 to 1:40. And then you will depart and walk to your bus at 1:40 in the afternoon. So as a reminder, it's really important for your students to be there on time. I know that you can't control the buses, the bus drivers, but it is very important. So each school only has 2 hours at the event, and that's already a limited amount of time in and of itself. So if you get there late, we will have a buzzer sounding every 30 minutes for students to move from zone to zone. And so if you get there late, we might have to start you at the second zone so you can only see 3 out of 4 of the zones instead of all 4. So just a reminder to try and do your very best to be there on time. We can make whatever work, but if you know you're going to be late ahead of time, or if you know that you're going to have to leave early ahead of time, please just let us know as soon as you know so that we can coordinate effectively. So we do have a few reminders. Angie?
And we have covered so many things in this video, and we appreciate you taking the time to watch this to make sure that your students are prepared to have the best possible experience at CareerSpark. So a few reminders are to, first of all, make sure that all of your students have the appropriate field trip permission forms on file at school. It will be the school permission slip process that we are following for CareerSpark, so that is individual to your school. Also, be sure to check for media waivers to make sure that the students you are bringing have those on file, and if the students do not have the media waiver on file at school, that you bring us a list of those names, since media will be present, so that we can avoid any media contact with the students that don't have the waivers on file. Please also be sure to review the content that we'd like you to cover with the students before they come to the expo, especially ensuring that they know how to engage respectfully and professionally with business people. Please make sure that they are prepared also to ask questions. We want this to be as interactive as possible so that the students are prepared and confident to ask questions and have dialogue and interact with the business professionals that are volunteering at the expo. And then lastly, please encourage your students to thank all of the different volunteers and business professionals that they interact with the day of CareerSpark.
So we're wrapping everything up, and we just really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to watch this video. I think it's really going to help you and your students have an even better experience at CareerSpark, and it'll help make the day go a little bit smoother.
If you have any questions at any time, please don't hesitate to contact Kate or myself with anything that might come up. We would like to help do anything we can to make this as great experience as possible for you and your students.
Yep, we can't wait to see you guys, and we can't wait to share this experience with you. Thanks so much. Have a great day.